Now let me go back to the concept of critical thinking itself and comment a bit on that concept. Because it's very common to hear the following complaint about critical thinking. Critical thinking, it is said by persons who believe the complaint to have a root, critical thinking lacks a definition, they say. The experts can't agree. If the experts can't agree on a definition, then all is lost. Well, what's your definition of yourself? I want to understand you. Give me your definition. Your answer, I think, would probably be something like this. I'm too complex. I can't be reduced to a declarative sentence. There's more to me than that. Now, I can tell you a bit about my history, about the problems I face. I can discuss my philosophy. And all of this will hopefully help you to understand me, but I'm not a definition. I'm here to tell you that physicists do not agree well with the definition of physics. Mathematicians do not agree on the definition of math. No field has a definition that everyone agrees to. Why don't people notice this? They don't say to the historians, why study history? You don't have an agreed upon definition of history. Here's what you need: an agreed upon concept of critical thinking. Not a definition. A definition is a one-liner. A concept is plausible. Biologists do have a concept of biology. Physicists do have a concept of physics, and the concept they have is largely convergent. They say it a little differently, but read a few introductory textbooks within a subject and you'll see the concept of the field is relatively convergent. But if you want a definition of critical thinking, or indeed of any other field, go to the Oxford English Dictionary and see what is said. And for example, if you take Webster's Collegiate Dictionary of Synonyms, here is their definition of critical thinking. And before I read it to you, let me tell you, it's a damn good definition. Better than any one I've seen from the experts in the field. And this is coming from a lexicographer who's not a critical thinker. That is, there is no signature at the bottom. Here is the scholar from the field who gave us these meanings. Lexicographers study language as it is used and mirror back to us the use that they see implicit in their language. Well, here it is. Critical thinking, when applied to persons who judge and to their judgments, not only may, but in a very precise use, does imply an effort to see a thing clearly and truly, so that not only the good in it may be distinguished from the bad, and the perfect from the imperfect, but also that it as a whole may be fairly judged or valued. Excellent. Very much right on target. When you judge, do you see what you're judging clearly and truly? Do you see the good in it and the bad? Do you see the complexity and the simplicity? If you do those things, and that is your motivation, you are striving to think critically. You go back to the map of the field. Manifestations of thought, how many are there? How many thoughts have been thought in the history of humankind? Well, clearly billions upon billions. And what quality controls have the thinkers who produce those thoughts used to make their thoughts as clear and as accurate and as precise and as relevant as they could, as deep and as broad and as logical as they could? How many of them used intellectual standards in an appropriate way? And the answer is, my experience is correct, very few. So we're very much familiar with thinking, but very few people are deeply skilled in critical thinking. And you begin to be skilled in critical thinking when you have an aha, an epiphany. And the epiphany says this: much of my thinking is lousy. I often jump to conclusions. I often bump into my prejudices. I'm often biased, partial. I often overstate what I know. I often speak without having considered the relevant points of view. I'm overconfident in my picture of the world, which I've largely gotten through media, which clearly is not trustworthy. And when you see that, then you see the many ways that your mind, like my mind, can go astray. You see the need for critical thinking, the need for homo criticus, the need for armies of critical thinkers to help the others to think better, not to think like the critic thinks, except to critique using the best and the most unbiased sources they can find, but always with the proviso that I may be wrong. I often am. This is the concept of critical thinking, and it is simple. And it is the concept of every critical thinking theorist, whether they know it or not. They're looking at thinking and they're suggesting ways for improvement.